Okay, welcome, folks. We'll go ahead and start the regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. And we'll start with roll call.
Chairman Dana Hennis,
Present.
Commissioner Brian Clark,
Present.
Commissioner Jeannie Greger,
Present.
Commissioner Jim Mann,
Present.
Commissioner Bobby Rossadello.
Present.
Thank you. And first up on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next up on the agenda, under public hearings, is case number 24-05-AN, annexation 24-02-DA, development agreement for the Cunamora Business Center. Doug?
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Doug Hansen, CUNA Planning and Zoning, 751 West 4th Street, CUNA, Idaho. The applicant requests annexation with a development agreement for an M1 light industrial manufacturing zone. The site is located at 5895 West Cunamora Road, the southwest corner of West Cunamora Road and South Curtis Road. The future land use map designates the site as industrial, and it is located within the East Cuna Industrial Overlay District. The application was initially proposed with an approximately 28,800 square feet of industrial flex space. The applicant withdrew this request. Any proposed development in the future will be required to return before the appropriate decision-making body for approvals. Upon review, staff finds the application to be in compliance with CUNA City Code, the Comprehensive Plan, and Idaho Code. Staff recommends the Commission recommend approval of case numbers 24-05-AN and 24-02-DA to the City Council, with the applicant being subject to the conditions of approval as listed in staff's report. And with that, I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
No.
Thank you. Is the applicant here tonight? Come on up. I believe you have a presentation, don't you?
Well, so my representative, he's not shown up just
Oh,
yet.
okay,
Yeah, I'm applying for it, but he's supposed to be
okay.
out. He said he was just a few minutes out, so he should be arriving any moment now.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Do we want to go to the next one? Can we?
Do we need to do a motion?
Make up some questions to ask Doug.
Yeah, we could come back to. Can we come back to this? This would be good. Yeah, so we can just press pause and we'll move to agenda item 3B. But we need a motion for that.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we move on to item 3B, and we'll come back to 3A.
I second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will go ahead and revise the agenda and just move to the next case, which is case number 24-01-OA, ordinance amendment for the Development Regulations Code. Doug?
Commissioners, for the record, Doug Hansen, CUNA Planning and Zoning, 51 West 4th Street, CUNA. The City of CUNA Planning and Zoning Department requests a zoning text amendment application. The text changes include modifications to the Development Regulations Code to include 543D, proposing a change to application completeness review to allow 60 days of staff review time to determine if an application is complete and in compliance. 554, proposing changes to provide greater clarification for site notice for public hearings. And 581403, 581603, 59602B1, and 5106E, which are all minor technical corrections to be cleaned up from the last code update. This will be the first of many small incremental code updates that will be forthcoming. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission? No. We don't have an applicant other than Doug. So at that time, or at this time then, I will open the public hearing for public testimony at 6:05. Sorry, yeah, 6:05 p.m. And I have no one listed on the sheet to testify in any position. Is there anybody here that did not get a chance to sign in that would like to testify with their opinion on this application? Nope, and hearing none, then I will go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:06. And that brings us to our deliberation.
Yeah, it's,
This one's straightforward. I mean, a little bit of language cleanup, clarification of the signage, some slightly different language on the signage. Nothing, when I say slightly different, just clarification.
Yeah, there's no real,
It's just changing it from Planning and Zoning Commission specifically to reviewing body listed, either P and Z or, so they're making it a little bit generic, which is helpful.
yeah, I didn't see anything that's changing anything in the section, just.
I mean,
like
I
you
guess
said.
the biggest question is, do we really want to give Doug extra time? He's asking for 60 days here.
I think Troy needs.
Okay, fair enough.
Just kidding, gentlemen, you do a good job.
Yeah, no, that's good.
No, I don't see anything major difference in this, in context or concept, so it's just kind of clerical.
Yeah. I don't see any issue with it.
If there's no other concerns or questions, then I would stand for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval for case number 24-01-0A with the conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Doug.
Do we have to make a motion to come back to A now at this point?
Yeah. So, yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we go ahead and move back to agenda item 3A, case number 24-05AM and 24-02DA.
I'll second.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With that, we will jump back. We've kind of already heard from Doug with the staff presentation, so if the applicant's representative would like to come up. If you would, go ahead and state your name and address at the podium, and if the bottom of the microphone is not green, go ahead and press the light and turn it green. There you go.
Good evening, Jeff Hatch with Hatch Design Architecture. Our address is 200 West 36th Street over in Boise. I apologize for traffic, but appreciate the opportunity this evening to discuss our project. Commissioner Harrison, Planning and Zoning Commission, for consideration of annexation with a development agreement. Let's see. Our subject property is located on the southwest intersection of Cunamore Road and Curtis Road. And we have an existing dwelling that is currently on the facility. Looking at the zoning map, the surrounding area, especially to obviously the southwest, is the M1 zone, and that would be what we would be proposing to be annexed into. And the proposed project would be of an industrial nature, and so we feel that the land use map would fall in line with the owner's intent for the property as well. And I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? No. No, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I'll go ahead and open the public testimony on this application at 6:10. And I have two currently on the list, the first being Ralph Cavallari. And if you would, coming up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and you've got 3 minutes, like everybody.
I'll move fast. My name is Ralph Cavallari. I live at 16250 South Curtis Road. You could see our place on the previous slide. So we're about 1,200 feet from this property. My wife and I own Pleasant Valley Agriculture LLC, and I have two things I wanted to mention to the commission to make you aware of. First of all, I'm standing in favor of the proposal, but I want you to be aware that all around that property to the west and the south, the 75 acres I sold has a use restriction covenant on it for the next 40 years that limits what kinds of activities can go on the property that is around it. I'll go very fast. No explosive or flammable substance manufacturing or storage, no livestock confinement facilities, no meat packing plants, no mining, no racetracks, no septic treatment or disposal or sanitary landfill, no commercial composting, no commercial kennels. What we're trying to do is maintain the rural area there that we live in without a lot of noise and odors and so forth. And so that's in place, and when we sold it, that was signed by the buyer, and that will continue. And I'll leave a copy of this with your staff. I will say that I don't have any knowledge of what they're planning to do. Rumor on the street is it's a gas station, but I don't know. But I think whatever it is, it's probably going to would be compatible with whatever the neighbors would like around there anyway. The other point I'd like to make is I want to encourage the permitting office to ensure that whatever is built follows the dark skies ordinance. It's a rural area, and we really value the darkness that we have at night. So you've seen brightly lit up gas stations and convenience stores. That would not be acceptable. It would have to be very toned down to meet the dark skies. That's what we would like. Third and final point, traffic, but I've talked to the staff here, and maybe we'll get some more enforcement out there so that 35 is the fact rather than 70. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up on the list, I have Tim Jensen.
Thank you. Tim Jensen with CUNA School District, 711 East Porter Street here in CUNA. We've consistently supported commercial developments, just obviously bringing more jobs to the community and helping with the tax base with our resident taxpayers. So just wanted to stand up and say that, and obviously work with, you know, the residents and their wishes on it as well. So I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here that didn't get a chance to sign up that would like to speak on this application? No, and seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public testimony on this one at 6:14. And that leaves us with our deliberation. I think this one's pretty straightforward as well.
Yeah, I mean, it fits in with the surrounding area. I do agree, though, that if there's a prior agreement, and, you know, with the covenant, the use restriction, and, you know, dark skies, I think those are things to be aware of that, you know, should be adhered to as well.
Right, I think they're kind of legally obligated,
Yeah.
especially with CUNA code, so.
Right. And at this point, we're just looking at an annexation, so those things will come later down the road.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, especially if, you know, their sole neighbor is in support, or their primary neighbor.
Yes.
Just pretty basic.
Okay. There's no other questions or concerns then?
Just a point of clarification, we're talking M1, so I mean, gas station doesn't fall under M1, we're talking about some light industrial. Yeah. So this shouldn't have anything, we shouldn't really have to worry about too
Yeah,
much.
because I believe that's C1 or C2. So.
Right.
Motion? So
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of case number 24-05AN, annexation 24-02 DA Development Agreement with the conditions as outlined in the staff report to City Council.
Seconded?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you. Next up would be case number 24-04-AN, the annexation for Wiscombe. Troy?
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, Troy B. Hunan, Senior Planner, CUNA CUNA Development Services Department now. The application before you this evening is requesting just annexation of a mere 1.38 acres. The Wiscombs are looking to annex into the city so that they can connect into the sewer and the water. They are requesting an R2 zone on a 1.3 acre piece right across the street from Arroyo Vista and also Ewing Meadows on the north side of Hubbard Road. Staff has reviewed the proposed annexation for qualifications, and they do meet because they are touching the city limits. They are the request is in compliance with CUNA City Code and Idaho state statutes and the CUNA Comprehensive Plan. And should the commission recommend approval of the application this evening, staff recommends that the applicant be subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. And the applicant is here tonight if you have any questions for them. And then I will stand for any questions. Before I turn the mic over, I would just like to point out that in the staff report, there was a location error. This is located near the Arroyo Vista Way intersection, Arroyo Vista Way and Hubbard Road, which is just before you cross the creek. Well, you can't cross the creek yet.
Thank you. Any questions for Troy or the applicant? I assume the applicant doesn't want to speak on anything, doesn't have anything to add?
No serious presentation. For the record, Troy Buchanan. It's very simple, straightforward.
Correct. Thank you. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Well, with that, I will open up the public testimony for this application, and I have no one listed on this sign up. Is there anybody here that didn't get a chance to sign up for testimony on this application? I don't see none, then I will go ahead and close the public testimony at 6:18, and brings us to our deliberation. I think, like Troy said, this was pretty straightforward. We're just looking at annexation for them to use the city utilities right nearby.
Right, and with an R2 zone, that's attractive.
Just to make you aware, Charlene and I work together at the post office, but I don't feel I need to recuse myself. This is pretty straightforward.
Okay, appreciate that. Anybody else have any questions or concerns on this? If not, then I would stand for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval for case number 24-04AN with conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Next up on our agenda tonight is case number 24-04-SUP, special use permit for Hair by Desiree. Troy?
Once again, good evening, commissioners. For the record, Troy Buchanan, Senior Planner, CUNA Development Services Department. The application before you this evening is requesting approval in order to operate a hair salon as an in-home business. They want to operate it in an approved accessory dwelling unit, which would be located in the backyard, which is proposed to be about 330 square feet. It is considered a home occupation because it happens on a private residence, but it will be taking place inside an accessory dwelling unit, which will need to get all of the necessary permits in order to do that, building, electrical, sewer, water, plumbing. Staff has reviewed, the application is located, or the request is for 1785 West Thistle Drive here in Cuna. Staff has reviewed the proposed special use permit qualifications and also for compliance with Cuna City Code and the comprehensive plan, and should the commission approve this application, then staff recommends that the applicant be conditioned to the conditions of approval recommended in the staff report. The applicant is here tonight if you have any questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Troy
Well,
or the applicant?
well, for the applicant, what was the overall, like, the conversation with the neighborhood meeting? I saw that it was all positive comments. How did that go?
Yes, if you would, please, then go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
Okay, Desiree Davis, 1785 North Thistle Drive in Cuna. There was 4 people that were for it, and nobody showed up that was against it.
Were there any concerns that the neighbors had about this? I mean, it seems-
No, one thing that we just lightly touched on was traffic, but I did address that I work part-time and I take 1 client at a time. So it would just be 1 vehicle at a time.
Thank you. Any other questions?
One question, so there's no signage included with this? You won't be advertising on the street?
No.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And full disclosure, this is within my HOA, so I don't feel the need to recuse myself, but, so this is, yeah.
Okay, then with that, I'll go ahead and open the public testimony at 6:22. And I have listed on here is Desiree. He did not mark testify or not testify, but he kind of did already, so. And then I have one other, but she's listed as not to testify. Is that still correct, Tristan? Oh, okay, sorry, M. Yeah, no worries, that's perfect, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to talk on this application that has not got a chance to sign up? Okay, and seeing none, then I will go ahead and close the public testimony at 6:23. That brings up our discussion.
Yeah, I mean, everything, it looks like it's well thought out, like she said, part-time. So it looks like the hours are gonna, probably be in the middle of the day during the weekdays, so probably not much impact on traffic with only 1 vehicle, no signage, something like, hairstyling or, it's not gonna be noisy or anything. It's not like running a daycare out of your house or, welding shop or anything like
Yeah.
that. So probably minimal, if any, inconvenience to the neighbors.
Are there any issues with the HOA on home occupations?
No, and this application has already gone through our accessory committee.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I've always been in favor of home uses for being able to use your homes for businesses. The one thing that's changing is the ability to have accessory units on your property now, which is something that I kind of question, but as long as it complies with all the requirements of the building department in that aspect, I don't really have an issue with it.
One with limited commercial space available.
Okay, with that, I would stand for a motion if there's no other comments or concerns.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve case number 24-04 SUP with conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes, thank you. Okay, next case is going to be 24-01-AN, the annexation for Palomino Place. Troy?
I didn't know it was the Troy Hour. Sorry.
Troy Variety Show here.
Didn't you write the agenda?
No. Good evening, commission members. For the record, Troy B. Hennon, Senior Planner, CUNA Development Service Department. The application before you this evening is requesting annexation of approximately 13.94 acres into the CUNA city limits, and they are requesting the R6 zone and the R12 zone. This project is located at the intersection on the east side of K Avenue and Porter Street. Staff has reviewed the proposed annexation for qualification and for compliance with CUNA City Code and state statutes, the CUNA Comprehensive Plan, and should the commission recommend approval to the council for this application, then staff recommends that the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions that are listed in staff's report. Just want to point out this is for annexation only, and that if there is a proposal for development in the future, they would be required to come back, use the public hearing notice and procedures, and come back to this body for any development in the future. The applicant is present tonight, and they do have a presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions for Troy?
No.
Thank you. The applicant would like to come up.
Good evening. Kelly Black, Bailey Engineering, 1119 East State Street, Eagle, Idaho, representing Trilogy Development for Palomino Place. We are requesting annexation and zoning. The subject property is a 13.94 acre site located south of Deer Flat Road and east of K Avenue. As Troy mentioned, the future land use map has this site designated as mixed use. Other surrounding designations include public on the west and medium density residential on the south. And we have mixed use on the north and mixed use on the east. We are requesting an R6 zone on the southern portion of the site and an R12 zone on the north. The R6 zone would provide a transition between the existing R4 on the south of this site, and it would transition it to the R12 that we are proposing on the north. Here is a look at the survey for the proposed R12 zoning district on the north. It accounts for 5.09 acres. And here we have the survey for the proposed R6 zoning on the south. This is approximately 8.8 acres. I also wanted to show an aerial view of this site. Here again, you can see the school sites to the west, the mixed-use land on the north and the east, and then the existing subdivision on the south. And that is all I have. Thank you for your time and consideration. I will stand for questions.
Any questions from the commission?
Not yet.
Not yet. Thank you. Okay, with that, I will go ahead and open the public testimony for this application at 6:29. Tim, would you like to come back up again?
Tim Jensen with CUNA School District, 711 East Porter Street here in CUNA. And obviously right next to where this is, is being proposed. We just wanted to stand up and support the application tonight. This developer's been a good partner with the district, and obviously, nothing's being definitive right now as far as what's going there, but we just wanted to show our support and partnership that we've had with this developer, so. Any questions?
Questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you. I have one more name on here, but they have marked not to testify. Is that still the same, James? They must have left. Anybody else that would like to speak on this application that has not had a chance to sign up? Okay, and seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public testimony on this one at 6:30. And that brings up our discussion. Think of all the areas in our city that could really use this R12 and R6 well. I think this is a good site. Even though this is just annexation, kind of having that next to the schools and providing some higher density, I think will allow some families a little easier time getting to school, as long as we have got the school space.
Yeah, I mean, we need the R12, you know, just to have a mix and everything, you know, and I do agree that it's, in theory, a good area for it. You know, and I know that this is just annexation, but some of my big concerns when I saw where it was is just the traffic during that area, or in that area during, you know, before and after school, lunchtime with all the kids. You know, I know that's obviously a conversation for another time, but
That's
Yeah.
officially an additional 60 units just in the R12,
yeah.
plus another 48 to 50 R6.
Well, on top of that, with, you know, school population, you know, the enrollment being high as well, you know, other things that kind of came into my mind. So, you know, it's just, it's good, I think, with the area, but, you know, I think timing is gonna be a big issue, or a big consideration later on for development.
Yeah, I realize it's just annexation, but my initial concerns about it was, again, the traffic. Number one. Number two, how it's going to interact with the subdivision to the south. How much traffic it's gonna actually put into that subdivision, and how they're gonna access it off of K Avenue. But I guess that's a discussion for another time. Yeah, at this point, yeah, I'm not quite sure how I feel about the R12 in there across from the school and the amount of traffic that creates. I know the high school kids all walk down to KJ's for lunch, so they wouldn't be coming this way. But,
Well, when schools let out, that street
yeah,
there, Porter Street
yeah,
is.
K Street is
Porter and K, yeah.
yeah. But as far as,
Luckily,
yeah,
that's not really at the same time as most working people, so I will say that, 'cause you don't wanna-
teachers.
Well, yes, but, you know, 3 o'clock is a little different than the 5 o'clock traveling home, so.
Right, I understand.
Morning time, though, I think would be a concern, but yeah, it's.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes, sir.
if I may have the floor, for the record, Troy Buchanan, CUNA Planning and Zoning, sorry, I keep saying that, what, habit of 17 years. When a pre-plat does come forward, there will be a traffic impact study that will be required to be reviewed with the number of units. So just bear that in mind.
Yeah,
No, correct, but we've always stated that this is the time that we gotta look to see if it's an appropriate designation. It's a little harder to change down the road, so we're trying to look ahead.
Certainly, and just because it's a fact, I'm not advocating for anything, but this is within walking distance of 4 schools.
well, grocery stores, you know, markets, I mean, I totally get the R12 designation there, it's, you know, it's just the current situation as far as traffic and kids go, but yeah, hopefully that's all stuff that the developer will address when they do come out with the plan.
So there's very limited, like, area that it goes north of Porter. They will, I mean, this is another question I know that comes really down the road. They'll be required to widen K to that point?
For the record, Troy Buchanan, CUNA Development Services. Yeah, that's correct. They'd have to, with any proposed development, one of ACHD's biggest policies is you have to improve your frontage to their standard, their current standards.
Because K
At
is
the
not
time of-
full street.
I'm sorry?
K is not a full street as wide as it's supposed to be.
That's correct. It would be required to be widened.
Yeah, ACHD did mention that in their
Yeah,
comments.
correct.
And then I did notice, yeah, and I did notice too that, you know, they mentioned that there's gonna be improvements to Meridian Road and K Avenue and then Meridian, but it's gonna be 7 to 10 years out, you know, like a roundabout, so, you know, hopefully timelines will work out, but, yeah, it's, again, annexation.
Well, again, I mean, your concerns with traffic and such is viable, but given what a mixed use could be, it could be, I think that's at least got an idea of more of a time, I mean, a set time to and from versus like a lot of commercial going in there,
Yeah.
which then would create a lot of traffic throughout the day, which would probably be more problems. I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but that's what I'm saying is I think this application, what they're annexing for with the zoning is not a bad option.
Yeah, we may be getting ahead of ourselves, but sometimes we need to get ahead of ourselves.
Well, and I think, no, it's like what I'd said earlier, I think that's something we need to do a little more often, so I'm glad we're thinking this through. You know, I think in the past, we've kind of went ahead and didn't think it through enough in the time, so I'm thinking this is an appropriate designation.
Yeah. Well, and again, with the applicant here, hearing the concerns, hopefully those will be addressed with the plans when they come out and come up with something that will work. So,
Well, with that, I would, unless we've got some more concerns, furrowed brows over there, that I would stand for a motion.
I'll motion that we approve case number 24. Or
Be recommending.
yeah, recommending approval. Sorry, I was looking for the numbers here. Recommend approval for case number 24-01-AN annexation with the conditions of, in the staff outline, or in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Guess that comes down to me, and I would say I would approve this. Aye. Thank you. With that, we'll move to the next case, which is 24-02-OA, ordinance amendment for the administrative citations. Doug?
Commissioners, for the record, Doug Hansen, Development Services, 751 West 4th Street, Kuna, Idaho. The Kuna Planning and Zoning Department requests a zoning text amendment application. The text changes include modifications to the Development Regulations Code to include 513.1, violations, enforcement, and penalty, amending Chapter 13, Section 1 of Title 5 of Kuna City Code, making a violation of the Development Regulations Code punishable by administrative citation rather than by misdemeanor citation. This change will bring a violation of Title 5 of Kuna City Code in line with the current violation, enforcement, and penalty for all other city code sections as approved in ordinances 2024-17, 2024-16, and 2024-18 by the City Council earlier this year. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the commission? Okay. With that, I will go ahead and open the public testimony for this application at 6:39. I have nobody listed for this application. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to testify? In seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public testimony at 6:39, and we'll move to our deliberation. I think this one's pretty well straightforward. It's
Exactly.
more terminology. I think it just aligns everything so it's congruent throughout the code, so.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that stood out to me as, you know, negative, positive, just administrative.
Right. Excuse me. Gesundheit. Okay, with that, I would stand for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval for case number 24-02-OA, with conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Thank you, Doug. And with that, we'll go on to the next case, 24-03-OA, ordinance amendment for time extensions and bonding. Thank you, Doug.
For the record, Doug Hansen, Development Services, 751 West 4th Street, Cuna. The City of Cuna Planning and Zoning Department requests a zoning text amendment application. The text changes include modifications to the Development Regulations Code to include Cuna City Code 544, correcting a Scrivener error from case number 23-01-OA ordinance amendment. 592, proposing changes to time extension expiration for preliminary and final plats, allowing for 2 years to obtain the city engineer's signature on phase 1 of the preliminary plat, and 2 years to obtain said signature between final plat phases. The proposed change also moves time extensions and reinstatements into its own section, Cuna City Code section. Cuna City Code 5108, proposing changes to the bonding process for landscaping, and Cuna City Code 5113, proposing changes to landscape buffer widths. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Doug at this time? No. With that, I'll go ahead and open the public testimony at 6:42 on this application. I have nobody signed up presently for this application. Does anybody in the audience want to sign up? With seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public testimony at 6:42, and we'll move to our discussion. I think, again, like previously, I think this is just kind of some bookkeeping on this and some clarification.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, if I could have more landscaping, I want more landscaping, they're reducing it 10 feet.
You don't have to mow as much that way.
Well, I'm not mowing it.
You're paid for it.
I know it. Actually, everything gets rolled in, right?
Yep. Well, if there's no questions or concerns, then I would stand for a motion on this ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, move to recommend approval for case number 24-03-OA with conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Thank you. Motion passes. With that, I have no more items on the agenda for tonight. Thank goodness. Is there any staff reports or discussions?
For the record, Doug Hansen, Development Services, that's it for this evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Just to clarify. Thank you.